27th. Annie, would you mind doing roll call for us?
Sure. It looks like online we have Andrew Chorney, Cheryl Hartman, Christina Devoir, Alicia Beckholtz, Kaylee Becker, Lisa Shepherd, MCAT, and Mel Fisher. In 206, we have Commissioners Strohmeyer and Slotnick, Emmy Bristow, Allison France. Oh my gosh, I'm just like Maddie Scott, Ann Hughes, Sarah Richardson, myself, Annie Cathy, Chris Lounsbury, and we have Ted Morgan, Ray Reiser, Nicholas Xantos, and Jacob Allington. I think I got everybody.
Okay.
We almost had Ted Morgan. He's not here yet.
Thank you for that, Annie. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda today? Seeing none, we have 19 consent agenda items.
Just a couple more seconds. That's the one I'll call for you, River Ambassador.
Oh, thank you. I will, thank you very much.
So are there any questions or comments about anything on the consent agenda from anyone? Josh?
I want to say, welcome yet again, another season of River Ambassadors. Pretty soon, these gray skies will lift. It'll be super hot out. The tuber hatch will ensue, and our rivers will be choked full of tubers and boaters and anglers, et cetera. And we'll be glad to have these river ambassadors out there helping people figure out where to park and what to do so everyone has a good experience and the resource doesn't get trashed. We're glad to have the partners that made River Ambassadors happen.
Excellent. Any other comments on the consent agenda? Should we do it?
Yes, I move past the consent agenda.
I will second that. Any further discussion or public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have 3 action items. The first is brought to us by Nick. Dedication of a public road and utility easement.
I think as in a year where we're in the process of trying to build a shared use path that will connect the Bitterroot Trail to Blue Mountain Rec area. So right now we're working on getting all the needed right of way to build that path. So I'm bringing forward one of the right of way portions in front of the Elevate Church on Blue Mountain Road, and there'll be 2 more properties that we'll be bringing to you here shortly as we're working on finalizing those. Then once we have all of the easements in place, that will help us be much more competitive for grants coming up to hopefully get toward building construction of the trail. So I have that document here. If we can set that now, or we can sign it after. I don't know what's easiest for.
I can always just do DocuSign if that's okay. Unless
yeah.
Is that the one that you loaded?
This is the hard copy one that we will have to record.
We can sign it.
Okay. Here's the
Well, should we take action first?
Good call, sir. How's it been getting right away?
It has been great. Property owners are very receptive. Everyone wants to have a safe path to and from the rec area and to and from the trail. Right now, I think, as we all know, as we're on Blue Mountain Road, users are using it regardless, and it's a really tight space. So people are very excited. The church itself, they run a daycare, so they're really excited to be able to take the kids from their church to the rec area in a safe manner and not have to get in the car to do that. So
that's wonderful.
People are very receptive.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. All right, I would move we get this butter signed.
Second that. Further discussion or public comment on this item? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
The old days.
One pass it over.
Retro.
It's okay.
Yeah.
To range.
Oh,
Does it have to be blue?
And then, no.
No.
And then Nick, I'll
It's black.
take it.
Yes.
I'll get it recorded and send it back to your list.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's the top part.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Shane, we have a notice of award for the Lolo wastewater improvement project funded through ARPA.
Let's see Shane.
Not have Shane.
We do not have Shane.
Is there anyone from Public Works on the line?
There's not anybody.
Seems like a terrible idea.
Let me see if Shane can pop on, maybe if we want to jump to the next item.
Okay, we will jump to the next item. Maddie, we have appointment of members to the Missoula Aging Services Governing Board.
Yes, so we have 4 terms that expired this month. Three of them have submitted letters of interest to continue serving. That is Kim McCaveley, Cynthia Rittemaker, and Tom Wozniak. All three have been vital members to the board and are doing a great job. So they would like to be reappointed. And then we have two members that stepped down, and we had some interviews for them. So we had Greg Oliver, Amber Rogers, and Swarna Reddy. Sorry. And I know that talking to Missoula Aging Services, they feel that Greg and Amber both have the combination of skills and experience that they're looking for.
And Lisa is on it.
And Lisa is on if we have questions.
Lisa, is there anything that you'd like to say?
No, that covers it. Just that really appreciate all of the candidates applying and being willing to give their time and their expertise to us. But we would be really excited to have both Greg and Amber come on board.
Okay, so I guess the motion would be to, would it be to reappoint Ken, Cynthia, and Tom, and to appoint Greg and Amber?
Yes.
Is that right?
So all I want to throw in here, if you have a need for any data analysis, I know Swarna would help you.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate
Just on an
that.
ad hoc thing, I know that she would help.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all right, I would move we get this done.
Okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion or comment from anyone? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, they are appointed.
I believe I saw Shane join.
Yeah.
Shane.
Thanks for running the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. Shane, would you like to speak to this notice of award for the Lola wastewater improvement project funded through ARPA?
Yeah, so Prospect submitted a bid. They were the low bid. Our budget was around 5.5 million. Their low bid was 6.6, and so we've been working on scope reduction to get us down into that 5.5 number. I think we're there. So we're just simply wanting to award, and then we'll follow up with a contract and change order, hopefully in the next week or two.
Great. Questions?
Does this leave quite a bit left to do on this sewer system?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's plenty to do. And one of the things that we ended up pulling out of the project was a force main from the lift station to the wastewater treatment plant. That was like a $400,000 reduction. So that's another component that we'll have to add into the future. And we've already talked about like the secondary clarifier and other big items like that to the tune of $5 to $6 million that still need to be included in future projects. And that's just wastewater. So, and I don't know if you wanted to get into detail on the Lolo system, but we just met with HCR yesterday. They gave us updated prices on kind of the next phases on water and wastewater. And so I think like for 9 million, roughly, we can get both water and wastewater upgraded to not only handle just the deficiencies that are there today, but also get another 300 connections. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, Josh.
So that 9 million, is that 9 million total, or is that 9 million on top of this? This what we're talking about today?
Oh, that's 9 million on top of what we're talking about today. Those are, and you're looking at like.
I want to be sure.
Yeah, and on the water side too. I mean that.
Yeah.
We're talking, it's about 2.2 million to upgrade wells 1 and 2, and also upgrade one of the water mains. That would get them out of the deficiencies where they're at in the water right now. And that would get them to 300 connections. If you wanted more connections, you would have to drill another well. So we'd create well number 4, and that was over $5 million. So that's a big number. That's why we're kind of sticking to that 300. On the wastewater side, we're looking at the upgrades would cover an additional 650. But we also know that, we're gonna be limited by the water if we just do that $9 million upgrade. So, and that, maybe that gets us the next 15, 20 years. And then
Great.
you can drill a well then if you need to, so.
Hey Shane, would you just mind, just in case Martin knows the story later on or listens to this, could you talk just a little bit about the fact that these are rural special improvement districts? So they're internally funded by the users. These
Thanks,
aren't
Chris.
property tax funded
Yeah.
things. And that's why
Yeah.
grants, especially ARPA and other funding sources, are so important.
Yeah, grants are important. And well, just like any system, Chris, obviously the users are paying for the improvements necessary to the system. I think one of the challenges we face though, the RSIDs, the users of that system essentially have to approve any added capacity. It makes it a little bit more challenging for us to try to operate a system. Whereas like if you're in a municipality, like City of Missoula, for instance, those are things that they can make the decision to do and make those upgrades and try to accommodate growth. So it's just a different system. And, one of the challenges too that we face is knowing that we do have growth and there is a need for housing. Who should be paying for all those improvements, and up front, it's the existing users are going to have to pay for a good portion of it unless we do get grants. And there's just not a lot of grants available though on the water wastewater side. So.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Shane.
We do this?
Not yet.
All right, we approved a notice of award for Lolo wastewater improvement project.
Second that. Any further discussion or public comment on this item? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we have 3 items of correspondence. The first, who's going to talk about the HUD regulations letter of support?
So the first 2 are mine.
Okay.
I think Kaylee's on for the third, or at least that's my hope. We've been working closely with our federal delegation and our federal lobbyists on a couple of different issues, as the commissioners were. One of those is about making sure that housing and urban development, or HUD funding, meets and matches the needs of communities. And so HUD has been working to update their regulations. And so this is a letter to HUD related to some regulations that they're updating, specifically around home funds, which Missoula County is not eligible for, but make a huge difference in the city. But these do actually address a couple of goals that are really important to the county. So in addition to updating some of the regulations around the home piece, it actually also expands their definitions to include things around clean energy and sustainability and carbon neutrality. And so we wanted to just call those out and say that we appreciate the work that they're doing on that, as well as the funding that the increased funding that they're looking to make available to communities around low income and affordable and attainable
Would
housing.
updating the regulations mean a change in the AMI restrictions?
I don't believe these changes that are here are part of AMI, at least this package of regulation updates. There are more that will come in the future and that may look at that particular one. This one was more focused on
Expanding to these other areas?
correct.
The-
So, and then
Around,
allowing funds to be used for rehabilitating already existing HUD projects.
yeah, the issue that we faced in this is that the AMI regs just did not fit Missoula. So if a person was of that AMI, they wouldn't be making enough money to be bankable for their down payment assistance, which obviously is not the programs you're talking about, but the same restrictions apply. It works in a different time and place, but not our time and place.
So that's what that first letter of support is for.
I'll get that signed.
The second one is actually around mental health. That's what the IMDb letter is. And so specifically, this is a letter supporting legislation at the federal level that would increase the ability for Medicaid to pay for inpatient mental health and substance abuse disorder costs related to that. They, of course, are already somewhat eligible expenses, but this expands the definition and use of when those things can be used, which will make a big difference to our providers here in the community who provide inpatient, in particular, services. And so we called out specifically not only theirs, but talked about how this tied into both the HART grant that comes from the state of Montana, but also how the local mental health and substance abuse revolving loan funds and levies help support those services as well. And so this is a letter in support of that legislation at the federal level.
Oh, I just left Shibu too. I wish I knew. Does anybody know does this look like it has legs?
This is always the challenging time of year, right? Because Congress is getting ready to go on break and then we have the fall election. So I don't know how many legs it will have before things kind of grind to a halt around the election, but it's coming out from a congressman out of New York. And so.
Yeah, interesting. One of the things Shibu just said to me was basically exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
It's like, going away and then everybody's holding their breath until a lame duck. So don't expect much.
Yeah. But the good news is a lot of legislation out of the lame duck gets resurrected in the next thing. And so even if it doesn't now, hopefully it will post November.
I wonder if this sort of thing has support in places that aren't like Missoula, big urban areas. This is the kind of thing that would have support.
I think so, because of course that's,
More
as you
people,
know, we're more people, more services.
Yeah.
And so a lot of folks end up moving in or being moved in order to be able to provide inpatient services. Missoula is fortunate, and Billings is fortunate that we have some inpatient services through Providence and other providers, but we're a couple of the only communities that have that level of inpatient.
What does IMD stand for?
I'm glad you asked that question. It is the Institutions for Mental Disease Exclusion in Medicare, which limits the cost that Medicare and Medicaid can pay around institutionalized or inpatient mental health services.
Yeah, I'd imagine what would pushback be, or pushback would be, this is going to make the total cost for Medicaid, Medicare go up, and that would be reflected in federal income taxes.
Yeah.
How did we find out about this?
So our partners at Western Skies actually tracked these two particular issues for us and brought them to our
Nice.
attention and said, these might be areas where you want to comment because they have direct tiebacks to some programs that Missoula County is working on. And Allison was kind enough to take their talking points and their super rough draft and turn it into something that something that Missoula County could sign off on. And I am grateful for that because she's a wonderful editor. I'm not.
Great,
So,
glad we
thank
can
you,
find this.
Allison.
I'm glad it exists. Thanks for writing the letter.
Thank you. Kaylee?
Good morning. Great to see you all. So this letter on the agenda today relates to a grant application that Five Valleys Land Trust is applying for. So the program is through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. It is their Regional Conservation Partnership Program. So Five Valleys Land Trust is putting forward a proposal and has asked Missoula County to be one of the lead partners on the grant. So if awarded, this proposal or the funding would provide specifically funding for conservation easements, and it would be a 5-year time span from when the award was given. So, if awarded, it'd likely be around 2025 to 2030. And it'd be enough funding for around 10 conservation easements. Those would be targeted towards private lands within the wildland urban interface of Missoula County, and properties where they obviously are working with willing landowners who want to place an easement on their property, protecting important natural resources, including agricultural lands, healthy forests, wildlife habitat, and lands that are really important for climate resiliency. These projects really align with a lot of our goals throughout Missoula County related to Department of Ecology, our wildland fire program, obviously our open lands program. And what this letter outlines is both our support for the proposal, but also what the county's contribution would be if awarded. And all of that contribution that's outlined would be in kind from dedicated staff time working on projects that are already in place. So it's not creating new work, it's simply outlining, here's the work we do that already aligns with the project proposal goals and objectives. The application is due next week. I think they're actually maybe submitting it today. So this letter is pretty timely. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
No,
From anyone? Okay,
it's like we can be part of it.
we will get this signed. Thanks, Kaylee.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else that we need to discuss now?
I think for today, and then you have a lot of letters.
What?
Editors.
Editors. Yeah, me too.
Mixing letters. editors.
Okay, so I guess, we have an interview this afternoon and then a public meeting and then off to Clinton tonight.
Clinton tonight.
Ted, are you gonna join us in Clinton?
Thinking about going to the meeting in Bonner, actually. I heard that the people at the school in Mount Jumbo are meeting with the developers for that big.
Oh, about the Aspire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't follow you around the rest of
Yeah.
the night, Josh, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that should be a good one too. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.